So the Supreme Court ruled partially to allow illegal citizens to vote in none other than federal elections. And as I said before, that there have been state local elections that they have been allowed to be voting in. Undocumented have been voting in local elections. And while they have been debunking anybody who is saying that they're trying to pass it to where they can vote in federal elections, and they will basically control that and debunk it and say none of it's true, when in fact that is the movement. And it is now before the United States Supreme Court, where they have partially going to allow Arizona to have people who are not citizens vote in a federal presidential election. So they just ruled on whether or not this case can, go forward, which they will hear oral arguments on September 10th. But here's the thing that I find that is so sad, that that you've had all these, by the millions, were brought here from various countries around the world. You think, where are these people getting all these money to fly over from all these different countries and basically convoying as the invasion of our country, far surpassing the cap of asylum and refugee people that our country is allowed to take per year, with none of them in Congress impeaching our president for violating the cap that Congress sets forth that the president is supposed to be going by. Not Republicans nor Democrats were standing up against this. None of them did. So here we are. What really makes me sad, though, is I think that all these people coming in, flooding in our country, ending up on the streets and homeless and in very dire peril situations, and some of them are saying it's worse than the countries that they came from. They don't care about them. All they want is their vote. I hope they remember that while they sat here and suffered, while the Democrats did that, allowed them to come into this country, and basically they're on YouTube, got all these fake ads about, oh, America's letting you have all this monthly thousands of dollars. You'd think that wasn't by design, that they have these fake ads about how people can get thousands of dollars a month with their fake scammy ads where they're just collecting your info, but basically it sends a message to the world, oh, go steal into America because they're not, following their own laws, they're going to let us in, and then they're going to give us a bunch of money, which they are giving them money, but there are a lot of them, though, there's so many of them that you see them on the streets, like New York, it was horrible. But anyway, so here's what the recent ruling is. This is today, August 22nd. The Supreme Court ruled by a 5-4 margin to only partially, approve a request from the Republican National Committee that would make people in Arizona show proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote. Don't let them think that they got to win. Partially approved. Partially. Partially, people. Amy Coney Barrett voted against the measure and sided with the liberal justice, as if she sided with anybody. If you're partially approving a request, that means the majority of the request, was rejected. So let's reword this in the way that it should really be written. Conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett agreed to majorly reject a request from the Republican National Committee that would make people in Arizona show proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote. And Conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett only partially approved a request. So, yeah, it's rigged, guys. All of them. Where are your legislators demanding that Biden be impeached for violating the cap? There's a cap. All those people that were coming in, avoiding the ports of entry, yeah, they were allowed to come in. They were not deported when they avoided ports of entry. And none of our legislators, not Democrats nor Republicans, impeached that, because there is a cap on how many people are allowed to come in to ask for asylum or refugee status. There's a cap on that. So yes, there is a movement to allow undocumented non-U.S. citizens to vote. And this is why Biden did what he did. This is why Harris did what she did. And this is why the mainstream media, is destroying our country from within. The court kept on hold separate provisions that could have disqualified certain voters from casting ballots in a presidential contest or by mail. That means Arizona voters can still register using a federal form and vote. No ID needed. That's insanity. Some 42,301 voters in Arizona were only registered to vote in federal elections, which may be indicative of how many voters did not present proof of citizenship on their state voter registration forms, according to Arizona Secretary of State's office. And don't forget that just recently we have found in different states that they have been moving by the dozens of thousands people who illegally voted. They removed their votes because they were illegally voting, and not one person was prosecuted for the felonious action of illegally voting in an election. Not one of them was prosecuted. That sends a big message to the world. Let us not forget that in 2020, President Joe Biden won Arizona by 10,000 votes. But how many of those votes? That's how close it was. That's how divided our country is. That half of the country is conservative and half of it is Democratic. And yet the media acts like everybody hates Trump. Like everybody who votes for him is a bunch of wackos. They're literally insulting half of the country who are conservative. Right? But anyways, the law required the Arizona State Attorney General to use all available resources to verify the citizenship of voters in the Department of Justice. And he immediately sued to stop the implementation of the law. That's insanity! And yet, exactly how many Republicans sought to hold Department of Justice accountable for their treasonous behavior? How many of them are trying to hold Biden accountable for violating the cap? There's a law, I've shared it in various videos, that says that there's an absolute cap on how many can come in and ask for asylum each year, and it's set up by Congress based on the ability to vet and the budget and all that other stuff. They set, not the president, Congress sets the limit each year. And that is what the president has to go by. But instead, he's allowed them to come in by the millions. Millions, people. And it's hundreds of thousands is the cap. Millions they have come in each year. Millions. And this is why. This is what their plan is. This case that's now before the courts, people need to be praying over. They need to be praying over. Because the Democrats are dangerous. They literally, the President of the United States of America incited an assassination attempt on a former president and his opponent by stating, I'm done with debating, and we need to put him in a bullseye. And not one person, not one Republican, not one Democrat has sought to impeach him for those words. Not one. Something to think about, y'all. I'll put the link in the description of this article.